This is it. We are back. I'm home. I'm home from the Pokemon World Championships in Anaheim. It was an absolute blast. It was it was a lot of fun. It was long. It was a long 9 days. We were there for 9 days. We did Disneyland like, I don't know, 4 days before we actually did Worlds. So we did that, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it was pretty much World things. I'm not going to talk too much about Worlds in this video. I want to talk about some things that happened while I was at Worlds in the Pokemon card market. It's hard to believe we're only a month away, just over a month away from Mega Evolutions, which is crazy because we just had Black Bolt and White Flare, and already Mega Evolutions is coming out. And the artwork that they showed off at the World Championships, you guys got to let me know in the comment section down below what you think of it. It's been, I mean, the Charizard looks really cool. The Lucario looks cool. The Gardevoir looks cool. And then if you've seen the leaks for like the full art Charizard, I'm not going to spoil anything, but what I assume is the special illustration, it looks really, really cool. I like the way things are going as far as artwork style goes. I'm a big fan. Big fan. I am cautiously optimistic about mastering the sets. I think that's going to be a little bit easier. Obviously, anything after Black Bolt and White Flare is going to be easier because I don't think we'll have Pokeball reverses, Master Ball reverses, and like 8 million illustration rares. So Mega Evolutions, we will master that set. We'll give away a master set for that. We're going to talk more on Friday about Mega Evolutions. I'm really excited. I've been working like crazy trying to get my allocation numbers up for Mega Evolutions. I have some really good news. So we'll talk about that on Friday's video. But yeah, we'll master it, give it away to one lucky subscriber. So make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. If you want it, we give away a master set every single set release. If you want to win one, you got to be subscribed. So scroll down, hit that subscribe button. We'll give away one for Mega Evolutions, and then, what is it, Mega Inferno, which is like the Charizard, the Gengar, like all that stuff. We'll give away a master set for that, and we'll keep giving it away forever. Forever. But I want to talk about, there's some weird stuff that happened, there's some buyouts that happened, some manipulation that happened regarding some illustration rares, some special illustration rares, some alternate arts, like a lot of stuff some stuff is rebounding naturally, organically, and some stuff is not. Some stuff is just got bought out. Like there's no way, no better way to put it. And the important thing is recognizing when those things happen, so that way you make the best decision. When you get all this noise, all these things coming at you from different angles, content creators or influencers or whatever you want to call people who record content, when they talk about something, you know, the more you hear something mentally, the more attention you give to it, and then eventually you're like, oh, this Wailord just spiked like crazy. Now all of a sudden I really want that Wailord, and it's like 20 bucks. Well, I got to get it now before it jumps up even higher, because you keep hearing about it. And that's not, like, you want to recognize it, understand what's going on, so that way you can make the best decision. Wailord is not going to stay at the price point that it's at. It's already retracing. So it's recognizing those things so that way you can make the best decision when it comes to spending your collection dollars. So let's go talk about the craziness of the rebound that we're experiencing right now. So I want to start out talking about the Wailord. I got a little bit of flack on X for calling this out, this clear manipulation. And you obviously can think what you want. You really, really can. And I don't disagree. The artwork on Wailord is absolutely amazing. I think it's beautiful. However, the thing we need to remember that we've talked about multiple times, Journey Together is a super, super small set. Very small. The smallest set we have had pretty much throughout the entirety of the Scarlet and Violet block. I think there's actually less illustration rares in Journey Together than Obsidian Flames. I get them mixed up because Obsidian Flames, Stellar Crown, and Journey Together are the three smallest sets when it comes to illustration rares and special illustration rares. Now, the big difference between those three sets is that Stellar Crown and Journey Together have more difficult pull rates when it comes to the special illustration rare. So Obsidian Flames, probably the easiest set to master when it comes to opening up packs, because you get a special illustration rare like 1 out of every 27 packs or 28 packs or something like that. So you can master the entire set in basically a case, because it's going to take, you're going to pull almost two special illustration rares per booster box, which is great. Now they changed that starting with Temporal Forces, then it became a little bit more difficult to pull those special illustration rares, but they kept them the same when it comes to illustration rares. That's why you get so many duplicates. If you open up a lot of Paldean Fates, you get so many duplicates because there's only 3 illustration illustration rares in the set. So you pull them over and over and over again, but still every 12 packs, you're going to pull one. The fact that there's only 10 packs in, or 10 illustration rares in Journey Together means 120 packs, which is a lot. Don't get me wrong, 120 packs is a lot. You could pull all of them. Like, you could pull every single illustration rares. There's variance factors in and things like that. So it is a relatively easy card to pull, unlike that Magikarp, for example, or unlike the Groudon from Paradox Rift, where you have such a wide variety of illustration rares. You're talking about 35-ish illustration rares in Paradox Rift and Paldean Evolved. So the variance is much, much higher, much bigger. So it's much more difficult to pull the Magikarp, much more difficult to pull a card like the Groudon than it is to pull the Wailord. So beautiful artwork. I'm not going to argue that at all. Do I think it's undervalued? I don't know. Journey Together is still being opened a lot. The sealed product itself, relatively flat. And if you talk about booster boxes, yeah, they haven't reprinted booster boxes. A lot of people, or they reprinted booster boxes, it was really small, or whatever you want to call it. A lot of people collect booster boxes just to keep sealed. Booster packs, a lot of people open those up. So if you look at booster packs for Journey Together, relatively flat or declining a little bit. Plus, Journey Together is going to be included in collection boxes for years to come, or for a couple years at least, like another year and a half. And we are starting to get more collection boxes again. So there's a lot more collection boxes that have been released or are rumored to be releasing in the future that Pokemon has already announced. So Journey Together is going to be around for a while, which means a lot more Wailords are going to hit the secondary market. So the likelihood of all of a sudden 350 Wailords selling on a day, when normally it's like 45 to 50, it's not like all of a sudden 350 people woke up and they're like, wow, this Wailord is way cheaper than it should be. I'm going to go buy a singular copy of what this is an organized buyout. This is a bunch of people buying out this card at a certain price point, and then influencing the market to jump up to $20, $22. And you can see, based on its performance just over the past week, that price point is not lasting. Because if you look on August 5th, all of a sudden people were willing to pay $18, $19, $20, $22, and it jumped up to $22. Now, here we are, August 20th, 2 weeks later, and it's only selling, it's going down. Like, it's going down in the demand to buy this card, and the price is falling as well. So people were willing to pay $18 and $20 on August 5th, but they're not willing to pay that here. They're not willing to pay $18 on August 20th. So clearly buyouts going on right now. Beautiful card. Yeah, definitely a beautiful card, but very, very early for a buyout like this to have any traction. That's what you need to be careful of. When you see all of a sudden a card that normally sells 50 copies a day shoot up to sell 350 cards, clearly something weird is going on with that specific card. So Wailord jumped up to $21.50. Now it's sitting at $17.69. It'll probably keep dropping. It wouldn't surprise me if it dropped back down to $12, $15, somewhere around there, especially because more and more Journey Together is going to be opened at some point in time. We know we're going to get more Journey Together booster boxes as well. That's already been communicated to us. We just don't know when, and we don't know if they're going to be enhanced versus not enhanced. So we do know that there is going to be more coming, and like I said, it's going to be around in collection boxes, sleeve boosters for another year and a half. So Wailord, while it is a beautiful card, probably a little bit premature when you see all of a sudden it jump up from $12.47 all the way up to $21.50, basically overnight. Here's another one. This one's a little bit more weird because this one, a little bit more gradual, right? So this one kind of topped out. The Bubble Mew right here topped out in January at about $400, then started retracing. There's a lot of stuff that we've talked about retracing like crazy, right? So we had all this demand. You can see the demand right there. August, September, October, November, things going crazy. The release of Pokemon Pocket, and a lot of people really starting to get into the Pokemon TCG space from a collecting point of view. I just read an article the other day. I forget which baseball player it was. They were asking why they invest in Pokemon cards and why they don't invest in basketball cards or something like that. And they said, because I know Pikachu isn't going to tear an ACL, or Pikachu or Charizard aren't going to tear an ACL and be done for the season, or something like that. So that's the mindset of a lot of people who do look at investing in cards and in Pokemon cards, because it's a lot bit of a safer play. So here's the Bubble Mew right here. Started shooting up, jumped up over $400, and then retraced. You can see in the middle of July, kind of back down to about $300, but now it's blown up again. It's not going through the same pattern though as what we saw in August, September, October, November, where there's 100 to 120 copies selling on a daily basis. It's still relatively small. So it's still selling between 20, 30, 40 on a weekly basis, which is a little bit higher than where it was in January, February, March, April, and then June. But not like a crazy amount like what we're saying. This seems a little bit more organic to me. So it's up 483% on the year. It's currently sitting at $553.70 and continuing to climb even at the higher price points, but it's not jumping up a lot as far as quantity of sales goes, which is very, very important to understand and recognize. So this might be a little bit more natural, a little bit more organic. Same thing with the Charizard EX special illustration rare, again, from Obsidian Flames. Now, Obsidian Flames does have a lot more age to it than what we were talking about with Journey Together. So yeah, this one is going to be a lot easier to pull than basically any other special illustration rare throughout the Scarlet and Violet block, because there are only, I think, five or six special illustration rares in Obsidian Flames. So you have this one, you have the Gita, you have the Poppy, you have the Revavroom, you have the Squawkabilly, you have the Pidgeot. I think the Ice Cube, maybe that's 6. I don't know if I named them all or not, but I think that's the majority, if not all of them. In December of 2024, this was up to $85.46. Retraced, the bottom fell out, right? Like a lot of other stuff. But you can see the quantity of sales that are happening on a daily basis or weekly basis, not really going up. Not really going up at all. That means people are willing to pay a little bit higher of a price point, and that's what's rebounding this card up to $73.05, which is where it's sitting right now. So up about 72.5% over the past year. It was at $42.33, but people are recognizing also, okay, the age of Obsidian Flames probably at the point right now where we're not really going to get many more reprints. It's going to stay in format for a little while yet. Well, maybe not. I mean, it could very well rotate out in April, but Obsidian Flames going to be around for a little while yet, probably not in as many collection boxes anymore, because especially as we move into the next block, I'm not going to call it the next gen, but the next block with Mega Evolutions, you probably won't see a whole lot of Obsidian Flames out there, which means it's going to be a little bit more difficult to pull because those sealed products are going to start climbing. So Charizard EX also seems a little bit more organic. The Charizard EX special illustration rare from 151, we talked about this last week, jumped all the way up to $287.31. It retraced down to about $180. Now it's crossed back over that $200 price point. And we talked about this recently when we talked about 151. Now is really the time where you want to pay attention to 151. A lot of people look at 151, especially from a sealed aspect, for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And we are at the point right now where 151, 2 years old, probably not going to be pumping up a lot more product of 151. They might put a little bit more, at like a Sam's Club, or maybe even again, you'll see another drop at a Costco. We've seen booster bundles hit the vending machines, things like that. But we're at a point right now where you're probably not going to see a whole lot more of 151, which means you're not going to see a whole lot more of packs being opened as those seal prices start to climb. So this one jumping up, and we're not seeing a huge increase in the amount of sales on a daily, weekly basis. So from $122.98 last August to where it is right now at $211.12, it's up about 62%. Now, it is still down from where it was in January, but everything for the most part is. This one just starting to rebound and seems, again, a little bit more organically, a little bit more naturally. The Charizard EX from Paldean Fates, a little bit more sales that have happened over the past few months. You can see in May, very low quantity of sales there. December is where it hit its high point, $217.70. Now, a lot of stuff from Paldean Fates doing extremely well. Those special illustration rares from Paldean Fates, a little bit more difficult to pull, it seemed. In September of 2024, this was at $102.92. Obviously, we've already talked about the Bubble Mew. Charizard in general doing a lot, and we did have the announcement of another Charizard coming out. So that really kind of messes with the Charizard mind, and all of a sudden people get focused on Charizard a lot. So started retracing quite a bit. You can see it fell down to about 150, 160. Now it's rebounded a little bit. So now it's up about 10, 12, 15% over the past few months, back up to 189.50 and starting to close into that $200 mark. A little bit more sales than what we're used to. Again, this fell down to about 10, 15 sales on a weekly basis. Now it's up to 20. There were a couple weeks where it jumped up to 40, and that's really what drove the price up. So definitely one to keep an eye on. Same thing with the Gardevoir. A little bit more sales that happened over the past couple weeks, which may have pumped up the price a little bit, but you can see definitely starting, it was already starting to move up, already starting to rebound a little bit prior to that. So you can see jumped all the way up in February to $94.97, retraced all the way down below 70, and now it's back up about 25-ish%, sitting at $89.22. So it's up about 96% on the year, but up again about 20% over the past 3-ish months. A little bit more sales, but not a whole lot. So a little bit more organic here, maybe. Definitely definitely one to keep an eye on. The Gueritina V starting to sell a little bit more. Now, alternate arts are going to be very interesting as we move forward, as those Sword and Shield products really start gaining a little bit more age to them. This one hasn't rebounded a ton, but it might, because you're starting to see a little bit more as far as sales volume goes. There was a time in May, June, July where it was selling 4 or 5 copies a week. Now it's doubled. And once you get sets that are a little bit older, have a little bit more age to them, people are less willing to part with their cards. People are less willing to part with their collection because they kind of shored things up. And especially with those alternate arts from the Sword and Shield era, the demand behind Gueritina, the amount of graded PSA 9, PSA 10 copies that are already on the open market means that are already done, handled, means there's going to be less raw cards available. In February of 2025, this was $708.08. It retraced all the way below $500. Now it's back up to $538.41. So gained about 10% back over the past few weeks. Now again, more selling, 10 to 15 copies, but definitely one to keep an eye on as we move forward throughout the rest of the year. The Lugia V, definitely a little bit more weird stuff happening. This one's a little bit all over the place for the past year, so I don't even know what's happening with this one. Beautiful card, PSA 10 copy of it, a lot higher than what the near mint raw copy is. In August of 2024, 162.39 is where this one was sitting. In February, it jumped up to about 290, and then did retrace a little bit, so it fell down to about 250 here in June, and now over the past couple of months, it's really started to blow up again. Now you do have, again, more sales happening on a weekly basis where you're going 20, at one point in time there was 35, but that's not that abnormal because it seems to go through these buyout periods where people are like, okay, well, I'm going to get these copies now. And I do think part of that is just people flipping these over to get graded immediately, right away, get those PSA 10 copies. I think the PSA 10 sells for like 3 times this price, or some 2.5 times this price, somewhere around there. The Umbreon V, also a little bit weird on this one. So this one's a little bit more weird because it did go consistently to about 5 sales on a weekly basis throughout the entire summer. So May, June, July, even up to August, it was only selling 4 or 5 copies on a weekly basis, and now kind of in August is when it started moving a little bit more. So 15 to 20 copies selling, which has driven the cost up, or the price point up a little bit. In February of 2025, it was up to $298.24, retraced down to about $220 right here. So still way up from where it was in August of 2024. You can see it was at $141.13. So still way up from there, but now started climbing a little bit more, up again about 30% now over the past month, sitting at $268.22. The Dragonite V kind of doing the same thing. So we had this one period of time in July where all of a sudden 20 copies sold. Usually it's selling about 5 on a weekly basis, so about 4 times the amount. Again, the important thing to remember is there's less available. Less people are willing to part with their alternate arts once they start shoring up their collection. Which is what kind of drives up the price when you have lower listings available on TCG Player. Strong growth all the way up till February. Hit about $270 at that point. At that point, then kind of fell back to about $230. That's when we started seeing a lot of stuff retrace. Now it's pushed up to the next level. And again, more sales happening, but those alternate arts are definitely a little bit more tricky because there are going to be less that get put up. The listings are already small, so definitely one to keep an eye on moving forward. Up to $283.78 right now. So that's a year high on that one. The Charizard V alternate art also making some moves. Again, all over the place, kind of like that Lugia V, where all of a sudden you have these random periods of time where more are selling, usually selling about 10 on a weekly basis. But you can see here, 25 being sold, 30 being sold. It trended upwards until February where it hit about 215, then it retraced down to about 180. Now it's back up 228.85. So up about 80% over the past year. But again, up about 20% over the past few months and continuing to trend upward. So Brilliant Stars, another set that's kind of definitely out of print. No denying that. Out of format, out of competitive format. Not seeing a lot of Brilliant Stars out there anymore. And you're continuing to see some of these alternate arts trend upward. Alternate arts, a lot of people think, okay, they look at Gold Stars, which we have compared before. Gold Stars having approximately the same pull rate as what we have seen from alternate art VMAXs. Not necessarily alternate arts, but alternate art VMAXs. So they start looking at the future 10, 15, 20 years down the road, and they're like, okay, well, if Pokemon is still around and still the most popular franchise 10, 15 years from now, I would rather have this Charizard V alternate art at $228 than pick a Gold Star right now. You know, pick a near mint Pikachu Star or Charizard Star, for example. You know, those are way, way more expensive. So kind of prepping there. The Mew V, obviously something weird going on with this one, November of 2024. It's kind of like rinse and repeat right here. So all of a sudden you had this giant buyout right here, jumped up to $79.40. $2.43. Obviously wasn't sustainable, fell apart, dropped back down to about $55-ish. Now it's skyrocketed back up. But this one's a little bit more out there. Like, obviously something weird's happening with this one because normally it's selling between 10 and 15 copies on a weekly basis. And now over the past week, it's sold about 55 copies. So about 5 times the amount that it normally sells. This one does go up on the secondary market a lot more than what you see from like that Lugia V, that Charizard V. This one definitely has the less popularity, even though it is a cool artwork. Up about 95% over the past year, so it's currently sitting at 68.28. But obviously some weird stuff happening with that one right there. The Magikarp, again, this one kind of like the Charizard, kind of like the Lugia. This one's just interesting because it always goes in spurts again. Now this could just be people trying to push it up every so often once it gets to a certain price point, or it could be people paying a lot more attention to the market and they're like, okay, well, I'm willing to pay $180, but I'm not willing to pay $260. So it might drop back down again and go back up. You're going to see these weird instances of time where all of a sudden a bunch sell. August of 2024, this was $104.06, jumped all the way up to $276.97, retraced down to about $190, and now it's back up to $239.55. So up about 101%. Again, the important thing to remember, the Magikarp, much more difficult to pull than the Wailord because there are like 35 illustration rares in Paldean Evolved as opposed to like 10 in Journey Together. The Gastly starting to make a little bit of moves. This one a little bit different because we're not seeing these giant increases in sales volume. It's still staying fairly consistent between 40 and 50 on a weekly basis. So this one feels a lot more organic, a lot more natural as far as a rebound goes. August of 2024 was sitting at $20.19. Jumped all the way up in February to almost $60, then retraced quite a bit down to about $35. Relatively level until about June, and now it's starting to creep back up. So up about 88%, sitting at $42.81. But that's about 20% growth over the past 3 months. So really starting to rebound despite the fact that there's not a giant increase in sales volume. So Temporal Forces should be around for the next format as well. So it'll probably be around for a good year yet as far as finding collection boxes go. But Gastly's starting to make a little bit of moves there. Same thing with the Chansy. The Chansy, we've gone through a lot of buyout phases with the Chansy. This one seems a little bit more organic because there's not as much sales volume that's happening. It's just more demand for the card and less availability. So you're not seeing this giant buyout situation going on. In November of 2024, it was sitting at $8.12, jumped all the way up to about $29.93. And you did have these periods of time because of popularity where a lot of cards got purchased, retraced down to about $15, $16, $17, somewhere around there. Now it's gone back up about 25%, sitting at $22.48, but not this giant increase in sales volume that's driven it up. So definitely something to pay attention to. I would go back, look at illustration rares, special illustration rares. There's a lot that are continuing to trend downward, even alternate arts right now. So singles, very volatile right now, but it's really important to understand where things are going. Look at the sales volume, look at the sales history, look at what's going on this graph, so you can kind of determine, okay, well, the Mew V, obviously something weird happening right there. Charizard V, maybe not as much because it goes through consistent spurts. Make sure you're looking at the month, you're looking at 6 months, you're looking at a year, you're looking at 3 months. Don't just look at one period of time and automatically assume the answer. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on, but obviously the Wailord, that is one situation where clearly something weird is going on. We'll be back on Friday talking about Mega Evolutions. Remember, hit that subscribe button down below if you want to have an opportunity to win a Mega Evolutions Master Set. Ultimately, I just really appreciate you guys being here. If you could do me a favor and just tickle that like button down below, leave a comment. Goes a really long way for the algorithm. Ultimately, love you guys. I'll talk to you again on Friday. Till next time, peace!